What if some of your life's toughest moments, the ones that ripped out your heart and stomped all over it, turn out to be the ones holding the answers you've been searching for? In this episode, I coach Cortez Jordan, and he shares his struggles with work and life balance and the need to control. And what unfolds is raw, honest, and inspiring. Come join us and find out what happens when you let go of ego and you lead with the heart. I'm Susie Schumacher, soul coach for leaders and intuitive strategist. This is Soul Hustle and Hype, where self-awareness meets leadership in real-time conversations. Let's fly. My soul is on fire. Hi, Cortez, and thank you for being here today and being open to doing a coaching session. So let's dive in. And what would you like to talk about today?
Wow. What would I not like to talk about today?
What would you like coaching on? How can I help
Well,
you?
right now I'm going through a bit of things.
Okay.
Definitely, not like my life is always like different series of transitions, and I would say this is like a new transitional phase. About a year ago, my wife and I started our second or third version of a food business. She's doing a catering thing, and it was supposed to be a little bit different than what it actually has turned into. So
Okay.
there's been a little bit of trial and error, I guess, if you will, in trying to figure out how to create the right balance with like her job or her business that's from home. And then I was really only supposed to be really playing like a financial role, but it's been much more involved than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, there've been some challenges with that, to say the least.
And so with that, so it sounds like your wife has a business and you're providing support. And originally it was financial, and now when you say it's become a little bit more than that, what do you mean by that?
Direct involvement. Like I have to actually be involved with the business.
And what's causing the challenge for you? What's coming up for that?
I mean, I think it's just we have to have a space where it's not just about the business in our relationship, and it's really become a large part, and mainly on me. It's not so much her. She's really better at stepping away from that, trying to create that space. For me, it's like we gotta do it. We gotta talk about this business, to business, money, all the things. So
What is it about that conversation that you're not able to have?
well, I mean, we're able to have it. I just don't think I'm able to have it with her in a way that makes her feel good about the situation. She feels, I think, an endless amount of pressure. I think we think differently. Like, I thrive off of pressure, and I don't think that that works for her the same way. I think it kind of pressure for me pushes me, and I think too much pressure for her pushes her down, if you will.
So with this part of the pressure piece, and she has a different way of approaching it than you. So let's take her out of let's take her out of it, and not really about her feelings, but more about what would make you feel better.
I think I just need to be able to have. I mean, I think that I'm overworking, overdriving, overthinking. Just I'm a constant ball of energy. And anybody who knows me knows that.
Right.
And I don't always have the ability to just kind of like take a night off or have the ability to like even a minute off. It's always like filling every moment of my day with something. And I don't know. I don't know why.
What do you think will happen if you take a night off?
I mean, does Batman take a night off? Like,
Are you Batman?
I'm joking. I don't know.
I know everyone's a superhero, but
I don't know.
who knows? I think Batman does take a day off.
I don't know. I think a part of it is that there is just so much to be done, and there always seems to be something that comes up that it's like this demands your immediate attention. The job I do, and it's any given day the hammer drops and it's something new that it's like, okay, I'll give a good example. So we're supposed to start my real job. I run an aquatic center,
Right.
and this is public knowledge, so it's not like a state secret or anything. But 2 days ago, I was told that we have two pools on top of a 5-story building. We're getting ready for our summer season. And 2 days ago, I was told that our recreation pool, which is our most programmed pool during the summer, we do about $20,000 worth of programming a week during the summer, isn't going to open for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Because the pool's leaking.
Okay.
And I get like things like that. So I guess always feels like I have to be ahead of things in kind of no matter what, because it's like I can get news like that on a Thursday morning. How do you change the trajectory of something that I've been planning for since December of 2024? How we're going to onboard 55 new staff, how we're going to, every single one of our programs is sold out to capacity. All of our swim lessons, like I've been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to build this up. So I think probably some of it is really that I want to be in control of everything. And I
Well, how's that working for you?
brilliantly, apparently.
Well, I want to just point out just a moment where you named quite a bit of things that you were working on since December. And that was really interesting that you named off all these huge things that most people would stop at like number 2 of that list. So do you ever take a moment to look at what you have achieved? I know that getting that notice was a big old bummer. And that is not in your control. What is in your control is possibly taking a step back and looking at what you have achieved. Like what you just spouted, like threw that out there like it was, I just went grocery shopping. Those are huge things, Cortez, that you have accomplished. Do you ever take that time to like look at that?
No, I'm, I'm usually about 50 steps ahead of what's going to happen next. Like I'm
Where's
like
that come from? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
my mind right now, if I'm really thinking, I'm thinking about August, September now. Like honestly, of like where the pool's got to be. Excuse me, what my wife's business got to do. My wife's sister's getting married in August, and that was they had a very short engagement. Like they announced it in April, so there's just I don't know. I always feel like there's just no time to really just take some space and just do that. And I love working. I love pushing myself, but I do see sometimes how it's to my detriment.
Well, where does that come from that you think that you have to take everything on and also control the whole process and make sure it's done? And where does that come from?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't have a safety net. I don't have parents.
Okay.
I love my family and they're supportive of me, but there's no one in my family that's in a position to where if anything financially or anything like that actually happened, that I mean, I think they would try to help me, but I don't think there's anyone in a position that could really do that. I'm more in that position to do that for people in my family and my friends. I haven't had largely most of my adult life and probably even my later teens, I really haven't had any true type of safety net. My aunt Marilyn was that for like my late teens, early teens. I mean, a little bit, but it's just different. Like it's just me. So
And
I gotta, yeah,
well, just you seems to be doing pretty good.
not feel that way sometimes,
Well,
but
but I mean, with the safety net, I mean, ultimately, we all have to take care of ourselves. But at what point do you kind of take a step back and look at, hey, I've done pretty well for myself?
I don't know. That's actually a really good question. It's a very good question. I was kind of reflecting on that because I was going over some stuff about my music, which I don't do a lot anymore,
Right.
but I was kind of just going through all these songs and somebody was like, "Oh, I still listen to that CD that you did a few years ago." And I was trying to just kind of count down like all this music I'd done. And I was like, wow, it's so weird. I love all this music, but I've never really celebrated it. I've never like I could literally just go and start doing shows and not write another song for
Right.
probably a couple years. I'm like, when did I find time to do this? And like, it really makes no sense. Like, I don't know when I found time to do it, but I did.
Well, when you say safety net and you talked about finances and stuff, but when I listen to you talk about control and somewhere in there when someone says something to you that you have to get this done or something comes your way that wasn't planned, it seems like your response it goes to safety net like you said, it's only me. And so what happened? Did something happen where something came at you that you were not expecting and your safety net was, because it's interesting that you're connecting anytime that happens to even something that is not in your control at all.
Well, a few things happened.
Okay.
So I go at this gingerly because it is a little bit of family history, and I'm not sure if everybody wants me to put this out there. But
Okay. Just don't use names. We don't have to use names.
so when my mother passed away, I was about a month from turning 19. Stepfather, the great person he was,
Hmm.
he got very sizable insurance policies from her too, from her. And the thought process was largely that he was going to help me out with college, which I was in at the time, and like him and mom and had some pretty big conversation about this. It came out that after my mom passed, and not very long, like I'm saying, like a couple months, maybe three at the tops, that he had developed a relationship with somebody that was not appropriate, was not a relationship he should have had
Okay.
during the end of my mom's life. And he was going to continue that relationship. So my mom's side of the family was very upset about this, as was I. And basically, he basically gave me this like, you're either okay with this and I take care of you financially.
Mm,
you
interesting.
you're riding with your family, you're riding on your own. So that was very much
Wow.
an abrupt ending to something. Like, I mean, obviously I never once really thought about the financial repercussions of my mom passing, but like once at 19 you don't really think about that. I didn't really think about insurance and stuff, but like when it all was rolling out, he was going to pay for college. He did actually pay for like a term, and I he was like, well, this isn't going to continue if you're not okay with this. And I was like, okay. I like, she just passed. This is your wife. You've been my stepfather since I've been 12, you know? And then it rapidly deteriorated. He basically said, he was like, well, I don't want any of your mom's stuff. That's all on you. So if you don't want to throw it on the street, come get it. I lived in Seattle at the time. It was in he was in Oregon. So I
Okay.
had to like rent like this massive U-Haul truck, drive down to Oregon, get all of my mom's stuff, and then try to figure out how to store it in Seattle, which was, I mean, I ended up losing all of it because I didn't have the money to do that as a sophomore in college. So I just think it's one of those, I think I go back to that moment a lot of just like where it goes from there's the support, this is a person that I thought was someone completely different. I mean, he wasn't an amazing stepfather in a lot of ways. Had a lot of problems and he was abusive and he was all those different things, but I did not ever think he was a person that would abandon me and my family. And I guess I always kind of go back to that moment. Like your whole world can literally just be like not just flipped up. It's like somebody takes it, shakes you, and throws you across the room and
Right.
says, pick up all the pieces. I'm out of here.
Well, and also wrapped in the loss of your mom, and within that, being manipulative about buying you off.
Yeah. But see, the loss of my mom is not even really something I'm still never truly able to unpack that. It hurts too bad. It hurts too bad to even think about her sometimes.
Well,
So,
that makes sense when that was tied to that as well. I mean, that's a horrible way to be treated. And I'm sorry that happened to you. What's coming up right now?
oh, I just really haven't thought about that in a while. And I guess I've never really correlated those two things. People give me feedback that I'm a pretty intense person. And what's so funny is like growing up, I really wasn't. I was always like carefree, always wanted to have fun, smiled a
Right.
lot, very goofy. But I think that a lot of those types of things that happened at that time just were kind of fundamentally changed my outlook on things.
Well, how can we separate what he did? Let's put it, let's wrap it in a box with a bolt and a chain. And because we're not going to give that person the taking away your right to grieve the way you want to grieve. And how can we separate that out? Because you deserve that. And I never met her, but I feel very strongly that her son, she knows that is an honorable man. And that is who you are.
Oh, that's very nice to say.
It's true.
I honestly having this conversation is really interesting to me because I never really that is probably a lot of those events are really what has driven my outcome, like or like my outlook, like what I just a sense of never wanting to ever have something like that ever happen. Like I have to be stable for myself. And I mean, I have a good family. My mom's side of the family has taken very good care of me. It's not that, but it is very, I have to like it's me.
Well, there's also that what comes to me is there's a level of innocence that was tore up that in that moment because
Yeah.
even though it sounded like he kind of showed you who he was, but then you never really thought he would do that. And there's a level of cruelty there, especially the timing of it. And that's his shit, not yours. And I don't know him. So this is about you that I want to help. But I really want to look at this and allow you, if you're open, to really talk about it, talk about her and not about him and be allowed because you said you haven't been able to unpack it. If you're open, let's unpack it because let's honor you. Let's honor her and put him in that box and wrap it up with a bolt.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't talk about my mom very often. I wrote a really nice song about her
Okay.
a few years ago, but I don't know.
What comes up when you think about her?
Definitely just loss. I was raised as a single parent. My mom was a single parent until she married my stepfather when I was 12. But I was like a ultimate mama's boy. I was the only child. So my mom and I did pretty much everything together, inseparable. I mean, it was just me and her. When my stepfather came into the picture, that did change things a bit, but we were still really, really, really close. My mother was a very, very, very devout Christian, which I was raised that way, and I've gone back and forth of how I felt about that. But ultimately, I landed on that she did the best job she could, and she had reasons as to why her faith was so big in her life. And I think the things she did in her life were really a huge testament. My mom was like constantly taking care of people, which I don't even know how we did that because we didn't have a lot of money and we didn't have a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she was always figuring out how to help people. She was always figuring out how to get back to community, society. Even when she passed, it was like crazy. Like we had a memorial service for her and like 400 people showed up from our community. It was just like overwhelming. She just was a really the epitome of a good person. When I got a little bit older, she was very strict on me, very like
Mm-hmm.
very strict.
Okay.
Like I wasn't allowed to date till I was like 16. I wasn't allowed to listen to anything but religious music ever. It's
Right.
very, very, very sheltered.
Controlling.
Yeah, that would be that might be the word for it. But I also, and I didn't appreciate those things until much later because
Mm-hmm.
I also had to like look at culturally, like I was raised in San Diego, California, for the first half of my life, and what was going on in the Black community at that time was mind blowing. I mean, it was the '80s. Like,
Right.
so she was a single Black mother trying to take care of this young Black kid and make sure that I don't get into any of the things that could literally disenfranchise my life. And there's a whole generation of Black men that are my age that have been just completely, sorry, lack of better words, fucking railroaded. And that's, I mean, that statistically, that's what it is. You were either drugs, death, prison. That's really what's the outcome of that. And the fact that she was able to navigate through that and make sure that I was okay, I've never had any of those things really happen to me.
Well, it sounds like the controlling was a form of love too, based on what you just said
That
too, which is beautiful.
she was very afraid of anything happening to me. So when I was younger, it didn't bother me as much. When I got older, obviously I didn't want to be controlled that much because I was
Right.
older. And we were trying to work through that when she passed, and we didn't get the time to necessarily do all of that. So
Okay.
that was hard because like I kind of started questioning my faith and kind of rejecting some of the things that she had spent so many years instilling in me. And I felt a lot of guilt about that, but I also looking back now know that like that was normal. Like it's normal and between 16 and 19, 20 to be able to question like your own ideals if this is really you or is this something that's been instilled in you, and but is that it totally how you want it to be? And most people get the opportunity to do that with their parents and find out where you land. And I didn't really get a chance to do that. My mom passed, so I was in the process of trying to figure out how that worked, how her faith, which I have so much respect for, but it's not my faith. And can we still be good with that? But we didn't really get a chance to do any of that. And she was so sick at the end, it really, really hampered. Like I can't, we weren't gonna have those conversations. My mom was just But like apparently I get this from her. So like my mom was a counselor and she did a lot of counseling for her church. So like she was literally like taking chemo and all these crazy things, but then like people would call her and my mom would be praying for people and counseling people and she's like dying of cancer. It's
Well, but it's interesting from even the beginning when you were talking about her that she always helped everybody and she's always there for everybody. She can take care of people. And even in the lowest moments, she still is caring for others. I think I get that her faith is different than your faith, but it seems like there was a commonality of being a service and helping others. And I
yeah,
think you definitely have that.
got that 100% from her. The faith aspect is that to me, I guess I had to literally kind of been going through this probably the most in the last 5 years is that I landed on that really any faith is good. And to me, we're all kind of the same. I'm over the dogma. I'm over all some of the, the isms and all that different type of stuff. But that's just me personally.
Right.
Other people are not there and I'm okay with it. I just had to kind of come to peace with like there's going to be people that don't agree with me and I'm not trying to change their mind and but they're not going to change mine
Right.
either. So
Well, and that's beautiful. Everyone should have their own beliefs and not putting it down. And you're
it
open like
was
that. Yeah.
but it wasn't the way I was raised it was very very there's a right way there's a wrong way.
Well, and I hear that, but I think that within that, your take, what it seems based on what you said is that it wasn't the way that you necessarily wanted it to happen with the faith and it was like controlling, but it sounds like that was her fear of something happening to her son.
That I mean, honestly, that's the way when I look back, it really looks that way in a lot of circumstances. So there were things that, like, for instance, like I always went to very small private Christian schools, and I was usually like one, if two, only black kids there.
Right.
And again, those are all things that I was kind of like, why am I here? What am I doing here?
Yeah. Why is she doing?
Like, just the way I was raised. Like my mother was the epitome of like, obviously now we have all these people that are like, what we eat and all these diets and all this different type of stuff. My mom was on that like way before that. I did not break,
Right.
we did not have processed sugar in our household. I did not eat fruit roll-ups. I ate fruit leathers. And
Right.
we showed up at a place called Boney's, which is now basically what Whole Foods is
Right.
essentially. My mom was on all that stuff. And it was really funny because, like, again, I was a lot of things that, like, I didn't appreciate at the time because it always made me more different. Like, I'm already really different. I'm already in a really different environment. But, like, my friends would come over to my house for a sleepover and they'd be like, your food tastes really different. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And because my mom we didn't eat ground red meat. She always
Okay.
did ground turkey and ground chicken. It's like, it's always something that's like, it was
Well,
not
I
in
guess,
any way.
yeah, you never, now I understand, like, you had to keep, like, that's a lot for a young kid, but
I didn't even understand it until my mom, I was like, told my mom, I was like, Steven said that our spaghetti tasted different. And she goes, that's because we don't eat red meat. And I go, we don't. You
you
don't
didn't
really
know the
know any
difference.
different when you're like 8 or 9.
And I guess Steven's not coming back.
I mean, it was fine. He didn't say it was bad. He just said it tasted different. And I come to appreciate a lot of these things because I just realized I was raised so different. But like, even like, I didn't really get an allowance. My mom was like, you help out around the house because you live here. So if you need
Right.
money, we can talk about that. But like like a weekly allowance, that wasn't really a thing for me. But I learned how to wash dishes at like 7 or 8. I started doing my own laundry at 9 or 10. My mom taught me how to cook around that time. That's like when I first learned to make spaghetti, chili, all these things. And my mom used to say, I'm going to make you a good husband to someone. But interestingly enough, I did not realize that was being raised in the 80s. There was still a lot of like patriarchal and matriarchal kind of roles that I didn't realize how uncommon that was until now, where I still have friends that are the same age as me, specifically males, that do not know how to cook because
I
they
believe
weren't
that.
taught to. And I was like,
Well, I think in that too, I think she was also teaching you to be self-sufficient.
oh no, absolutely. I just, like I said, I feel like had we had a couple more years, a lot more of this stuff would have been ironed out and I would have been able to be a lot more appreciative about those things. I was not appreciative about those things in those moments. I was very like, I just want to be like everybody else. I don't want any of this.
But how you live your life now, and as a leader, you're showing her that appreciation by how you are of service. And we started this session about how you're supporting your wife, who is also a badass, and she's doing her business, but you're supporting her. And I think listening to, and I just want to say, I know this is going to be audio, but people who are listening, your face completely lit up when you were just talking about the memories of your mother. And
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful.
don't reflect about it very often, so it's kind of interesting.
But you also, I just want to take this moment to honor you, because within that experience, being the different one, not like being somewhere where not many people look like you, as a child, that is huge. And she had the love, was trying to help you in that way. But what I love, Cortez, is that you could have turned that into something much more negative, but you didn't. You still come into the world and you spread that energy of support. And so that's where the controlling piece, it makes sense, because that is, like you said, I don't have a safety net. But when the more you've been sharing, you have created more of a safety net than you know, because you have skills and you have a mindset. I mean, most people would have said, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But you stepped into it, and you're supporting your wife and you support yourself. You're a leader. And even as a leader, stuff may be messing up and you have you're holding all the juggling everything. If someone came up to you on your team and said, hey, I need help with this, you would drop everything.
Yeah, maybe to my detriment, but yes.
But think that it's not, well, what does detriment mean? I mean, I think that I think helping people is important. And I guess I'm trying to get clear about how you've made your decisions and how to lead, and also lead yourself, though.
Well,
and honor it.
I definitely think that part of it is I need to be able to take a step back and actually appreciate what I've done. Maybe not congratulate myself, but at least honor myself in that, yeah, I did that.
Why can't
and I
you
don't
congratulate yourself?
No, that's a good question. It's a
Why
very
can't
good
you
question.
pat that shoulder?
I'll work on it. I think it's hard for me to do that because I always feel like the work's not done. I'm looking at like 100 pieces, 85 to 90% of them are in place, but I'm hyper focused on the 10, that are not in place. And I really need to kind of learn to dial that back and
Right.
also move slower. And that's actually something that my team and I are actually really working on, because I am a personality type is called a personality type. If you group them in animals, I'm a lion, is what I've been told.
Okay.
And what that kind of means is that I am like pedal to the metal. We get things done. It doesn't have to, it can get messy. It can be hard. It can be all those things. You get over that stuff and you get stuff done. And that really works really well for me. Like, I love it. Like, I'm just like, but other people in your orbit are not necessarily very happy about these things. So I brought in someone for my team at the pool because we were having some issues with the leadership and people were not happy and communication. So I brought an outside person in that she's brilliant. And I was like, look, we need to talk about accountability. We got to talk about all this stuff. And I'm fine. You can put me in this too, but my team, we need to regroup. And one of the things that came out of that is that my team is like, yes, we love you, you're supportive, but you throw a lot at us at once, and we're not able to just catch all of it and start running.
Okay.
And it would be easier for us if we roll things out. We come up with 2, 3 things and we roll these things out. And I was like, okay, I had to really hear that. And probably old me 2 or 3 years ago would have been like, get over it. That's your job. The public pays us for our service. We're going to be there for the public. But that's something I'm really exploring right now, is that I think that once I can kind of start rolling things out slower, then maybe I can also give myself the time to do this. But because I'm usually just so focused on everything at once, it's hard to do this because you're like, it's not done. You can't do this until everything's done. We did, yeah, recently. I also shared a lot of things that I guess I didn't know. I had not explicitly said some things that became really relevant. So my team is really like, most of them, they really like emails. Like my coordinator, her and I are really, really tight. We share an office. She's great. But she is like, email, text, email. And like, I hate this whole communication. Like, hate
So
it.
much can be lost in the written word. I agree.
I
Yeah.
absolutely hate it. But I was been going back and forth about because like it takes me a really long time to write emails. I always had a
Mhm.
problem with papers. And I'd always kind of had a feeling that there was some type of learning disability that I had. Um,
Right.
but growing up, none of that was really kind of a thing. People didn't really talk so much about it.
Right.
But then the testing was like $5,000, $6,000 at that time. It was just so expensive. There were no resources. Just wasn't something that was you could find focus. Well, now there's like tons of nonprofits. So a year ago, I actually got tested and I got an official diagnosis of being dyslexic. I actually talked to my team about this a couple weeks ago because they were just like, why do you not like emails? And I'm like, I'm dyslexic. And maybe I've never told you this, but like for me to write an email, paragraph to two paragraphs can take me a half an hour to 45 minutes.
Well, I want to highlight this because you sharing that is really important. And that was a level of vulnerability. And even before when you were sharing like how you need to get everything done. And so many times, for whatever reason, I think the old school of leadership is don't share your feelings or don't share this or don't share that. But what I noticed too is that they felt comfortable enough to be honest with you about what they needed. And that is huge, Cortez, because a lot of staff just say, I'm not going to say nothing, or I'm just going to be quiet, or the leader isn't receptive to it anyways. But you created an environment, you brought someone in. And that's the other thing is that you didn't just keep listening to the same thing over and over again. You brought in an outside person and they were comfortable enough to share with you. That's huge. And that's because of you.
It needed to happen. My team deserved and needed that. We're going to keep doing it too, by the way. I think there's always new levels of learning and growing, and I'm not perfect. I constantly want to be. I want to be a lead. I want to be able to lead, and I want to grow, and I want my team to grow. Provide essential service to the community. Aquatics is needed by everybody.
Right.
Pools are like amazing things. Are life changing.
But I mean, that's what people need to hear, that the world didn't end. And in that moment too, you were not in control. And look how beautiful, what the beautiful energy that happened there.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you were coming from heart and you're a leader and you're very strong and you do aquatics, which is extremely intense and it's life, like saving people's lives potentially. And that's a huge responsibility, and creating that space for them to share. I think that you may be more comfortable not being in control than you think. When it comes to
maybe.
other people, you can release that control. But when it comes to you, it seems like it's a little harder. But you said you're going to start patting yourself on the back a little bit.
I'm going to. I'm also it's weird because I just had we talked a lot about my mother, but I had this other thought because I didn't really know my biological father very well. But in fall of 2019, he kind of got reinserted into my life, if you
Okay.
will. And I kind of see now that my mom was just really, really wanting to make sure
So
I
you were
really
what, not going to be like him?
well, in the sense of he's a great guy. I got all my
Mm-hmm.
musical ability from him. He was the
Mm-hmm.
guitar player. He was the I definitely got my smart mouth, all that stuff. I got all that from him.
Right.
Like the charm, the wit, that was who he was. But as far as follow through, being there, all those other things that didn't happen. So the comparison, the draw that comparison is actually really interesting to me because that had to be some of her thought process.
Right. Well, I mean, it's two extremes, and it makes sense the religion because that's control too. There's some safety in that, but that's interesting too. Like, yeah, the two extremes. But again, I'm always curious how you decided to take that in, but still be you, but grow and kick ass. I mean, you've done very well,
It didn't
and you're a good person.
I didn't have a choice, I think.
Oh, you had a
In my
choice. You had a choice.
I don't think so. I mean,
Yes,
so
you did.
the
I'm going to argue with you. Everyone has choices.
I
You could
just
have totally said, there's many people out there that have had similar situations or less than what you've had to deal with who decided to not come from a place of heart and care. You had a choice.
I just could not be that person. I don't it's actually really it's really funny. I was reflecting on this a couple days ago. I was like, I wouldn't have been good at any of these things that like are the stereotypical trappings of a young black male from when I was coming up. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not tough. I don't like fighting people. I'm not smart enough to deal drugs and run aloof of the law. Like all these things, like those things, I just don't have any of those characteristics. Like I would have just
You
been
just
the
run a
worst at
aquatic
all
center.
those
That doesn't
things.
take any brains.
But I wouldn't. But I just would have been bad at all those things, and it's just really funny to me because like I do have I do know people and I have friends that I'm like, oh, you're incredibly good at being deceptive. I don't really know how you're able to do that.
Right.
So I mean, I guess I do have a choice. It's just not, it's not in me. That's not really what I'm about. That's not who I want to be. Yeah. And I often feel sorry for people that that is who they are because
Right. It's a
it's,
terrible place to be. It's misery.
yeah, but I do recognize that some people that is more them than it's not. And not in the sense that they couldn't change, but just whatever circumstances, whatever things that have overwhelmed them or whatever has put them in positions, they've allowed themselves to make these series of things. But probably my biggest thing, and I call it, I learned it from my mom. She wouldn't have called it this, but I call it this. I call it instant karma. I have instant karma. So whenever I'm kind of going the wrong way, the universe has a way of kind of like snapping me back. I make a bad decision and then something bad happens. And they'll be like, turn your attention. This was a bad decision and you're getting this instant karma from this. And I pay attention to instant karma because it's meant to keep you going the direction you're supposed to be. A lot of people do not pay attention to instant karma. So once you stop paying attention to instant karma, it will kind of stop. And that's a really bad space for you. It really is because now you're having delayed karma, which means you're making a lot of bad decisions for you that have bad outcomes for you and people in your orbit. And the universe is like, I'm not warning you anymore because I'm not helping you. You're literally just, you're kind of out there on your own making these decisions. And when you have delayed karma, lots of bad things are going to happen and they're going to come down on you and it's going to be so much worse and it's so much harder to like really like change your whole life out of those types of things. And I've seen it happen over and over where I have friends that I've been like, that's a bad decision. They're like, no, I'm good with it. And I go, you don't feel anything? No, I'm fine. I'm like,
Well, that's also, I mean, I respect the karma piece, but I think that's also soul. We if we don't pay attention to it, an ego is driving
oh, I like
them.
that. I like that. That's cool.
It's like a little tap and then a little shove and then like a kick. I've been there because it's like we try to rationalize our feelings or our decisions basically because we don't want to deal with what we need to deal with, and it's a distraction, and we can blame everybody else, but the person standing is you, and that's where you got to start. But I think that is also awareness, and you have that awareness that wait, this isn't a good decision, and even if you made it, you have the awareness to feel like this doesn't feel right. And that's the energy there. And I want to, we're almost coming to the end. And I want to, how are you going to celebrate Cortez?
I think I'm going to celebrate Cortez by doing more for me. So
Okay.
I had a really interesting thing last night where we were talking about I was going to this concert and
Yeah.
realized I have a few friends. My wife is out of town. Most of the friends I have are out of town. And I was kind of going through this and I was like, wow, what has happened? What has taken the space of all these people that I used to be so close with? And I realized it's me not making the time. I've just let work just take all that time. And as much as I love it and I want to be doing these things, I also need to take the time for myself. And I feel to me, that's how I congratulate myself because that's how I used to do it. My mom actually taught me that. We would work hard, but then we always had a night. Our night was always Thursday night. He's canceled now, but we used to watch The Cosby Show and we would always have a special meal. And that was like our congratulations for what we did the week. And I don't really do stuff like that anymore. And I think that I need to do that. I think that I kind of need to draw on maybe the religious nature. You know, there's some people have a Sunday, there's people have Shabbat, which is really cool, where they just have a day where it's just celebratory of the family, the space. And I don't think that I've really prioritized that. And I think that doing that would be the first steps.
And what do you think about sharing that idea with your wife?
I think it's a great idea. share it with my wife. She'll appreciate it.
Well, because in the
She thinks I'm
beginning,
crazy. So
you were feeling a little overwhelmed, and so
I'm
maybe
just super
sharing that with
intense.
her too. Like, I'm feeling a little. Well, what do you think about that?
I think that she would love it. I'm super intense. I'm way more intense than her. I am just like,
Well,
we need to
you
do it.
guys are made
We
for
gotta
each
get it
other. That's
done. And we
beautiful.
get it done now. I need to kind of, but unpacking some of these things actually kind of explains why I may have a little bit of that.
Well, I mean, the control thing is because when things are out of control, what do you feel?
Like fear and panic and yeah, like
So, of course, we're
can't.
going to do whatever we can to avoid feeling fear and panic. That's understandable. So, completely understandable. But you also, the energy that any of the negative energy, it seems like you put it to you because everybody outside of you gets all this love and light and support. And that's beautiful. But you got to start with you first. You obviously know how to be loving and light. A spiritual person and you know what to do. Let's do that for you. Let's start doing that for you
I never really
because you
thought of it
deserve
that
it.
way. Well, thank you for that. I never really thought of it that way, to be completely honest.
Well, you deserve it and you're worthy. And I'm just so glad that you came on today because you had so many choices and you did the right ones. And also, even if you didn't make the right choice, you still are thriving. And I want you to know that these things that you've shared here today, especially with how you handled things with your team, how you've handled things in your life, you have made the choices and you own them. But
Wow.
now the choice is more about who you're going to be moving forward without being so hard on yourself in the controlling piece.
Well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That gives me some things to think about and reflect on.
When I'll leave it right there. This was beautiful. You're a beautiful soul.
So are you.
Thank you for listening. If this coaching session sparked something in you, maybe a question, a feeling, or just a sense that you're ready for something different, you don't need to have the perfect words. If you're feeling stuck or even just curious about what's possible, I'm here to support you. You can connect with me at SusieSchumacher.com. Until next time, let's fly.